story for you today. A musical instrument by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. What was he doing? The great god Pan, down in the reeds by the river, spreading ruin and scattering ban,
splashing and paddling with hooves of a goat, and breaking the golden lilies afloat, with the dragonfly on the river. He tore out a reed, the great god Pan, from the deep cool bed of the river. The limpid water turbidly ran, the broken lilies a dying lay, and the dragonfly had fled away, ere he brought it out of the river. High on the shore sate the great god Pan, while turbidly flowed the river, and hacked and hewed as a great god can, with his hard bleak steel at the patient reed, till there was not a sign of a leaf indeed, to prove it fresh from the river. He cut it short, did the great god Pan, how tall it stood in the river, then drew the pith like the heart of a man, steadily from the outside ring, and notched the poor dry empty thing in holes he sate by the river. This is the way, laughed the great god Pan, laughed while he sate by the river. The only way since gods began to make sweet music they could succeed. Then dropping his mouth to a hole in the reed, he blew in power by the river. Sweet, 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 O Pan, piercing sweet by the river. Blinding sweet, O great god Pan, the sun on the hill forgot to die, and the lilies revived, and the dragonfly came back to dream on the river.
Yet half a beast is the great god Pan, to laugh as he sits by the river, making a poet out of a man. The true gods sigh for the cost and the pain, for the reed which grows nevermore again, as a reed with the reeds in the river.
So we are annotating the poem A Musical Instrument by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. So it starts with the Roman numeral, and that's how they break up the 7 stanzas of this poem. So it begins, what was he doing, the great god Pan, down in the river reeds by the river, spreading ruin and scattering ban, splashing and paddling with hooves of a goat, and breaking the golden lilies afloat with a dragonfly on the river. So what depicts emphasis, and it helps with the speaker so you know how they're feeling. And then you hear the great god Pan, and every first line of this poem starts with a saying, and then the last 4 words are the great god Pan in every first line. And it also, when it says God, it's a little g god, and so you know it's mythological. And then when it says river, every second and 6th line of this poem is the word river. So in every stanza, the 2nd line, the 6th line end with the word river. And also river represents a flow of life, so that helps show like the meaning and purpose of this poem. So then spreading and scattering Pan, it displays what Pan's doing and how reckless he's being. And then it moves down when it says, and breaking the golden lilies afloat with the dragonfly in the river. So lilies can, golden represents like purity and, or not purity, like prosperity. And then lilies represent innocence and a rebirth. And he's breaking his own prosperity, and he's not allowing himself to be reborn. And a dragonfly can represent a change in self-maturity. So the dragonfly is a change in himself, and how doing this is changing himself. And then it ends with river, because this is the flow of his life. So the 2nd stanza begins, he tore out a reed, the great god Pan, from the deep cool bed of the river. The limpid water turbidly ran, and the broken lily a dying lay, and the dragonfly had fled away, ere he brought it out of the river. So he tore out a reed. So with the river, this goes back to the Greek mythology story of with Pan. So there was a woman named Syrinx, and Pan was in love with her, but she did not love him because of the way he looked. He was half goat, half man. And so in defense of Pan, the Greek goddesses turned her into a river reed, and Pan did not know which river reed she was. So in turn, that's where the story goes. So he tore out a reed because he didn't know which one was Syrinx. And so from the deep, cool bed, you can tell that this is like calmness and it's quickly turning into chaos. He's making something calm chaotic. And he does that again in the next line with the limpid water turbidly ran. He makes something that doesn't need to be chaotic. The broken lily, so he broke his innocence and it's dying away. And the dragonfly fled away, so he's not able to see a change. He just wants what he wants. And these last 3 lines, he's altering the beauty of the river for his own self because he's so frustrated with this woman who does not love him. Then the 3rd stanza, high on the shore sate the great god Pan, while turbidly flowed the river, and hacked and hewed as a great god can, with his hard bleak steel at the patient reed, till there was not a sign of leaf indeed, to prove it fresh from the river. So shore and sate just keep up the rhythm of the poem because they're alliterations. And the word sate comes or is related to the word satiated, meaning it's like satisfying and you're trying to satisfy yourself or make things the way that you want them. So that's what Pan is doing. And then it says turbidly flowed the river, so it's becoming chaotic. His life, the river, is becoming chaotic and it's starting to become not what he wants for it. And the last 3 lines, he's changing the river to the point where it's not the way it was. It's not the way it originally was. And this can even go back to the way humans change things to make them the way they want to be and make them completely unrecognizable. And that's what this can be a sign of. And this poem also, the rhyme scheme of it, I meant to say this earlier, is A, B, A, C, C, B. So that's the rhyme scheme of the poem. And that's just to keep up the rhythm of it and add some meter.
He cut it short, did the great god Pan, how tall it stood in the river, then drew the pith like the heart of a man steadily from the outside ring, and notched the poor dry empty thing in holes as he sate by the river. So once again, great god Pan is the first line, the end of the first line in these three stanzas, emphasizing that is the subject, that is the person that it's all about. And then river is also in the 2nd and 6th line of each stanza, and I believe that this goes back to it, like is redirecting you to the importance of the river, but kind of like subliminally, which also gives to the rhythm that was established by the rhyme scheme as kind of flowing like a river, and that kind of movement. And then like the heart of a man, it kind of shows how different or how Pan is not a man, even though physically he's half man, half goat, or half beast. He really does not associate with men because he's very heartless. And then the last 2 lines indicate his revenge, and he's taking his time. He's slowly making the river reed feel pain, if you will, and he's enjoying it. In the 5th stanza, he has laughed twice, and this also emphasizes his enjoyment and how much pleasure he's getting out of it. Once again, he's sating by the river, which is mentioned multiple times. And then the very 2 where he's dropping his mouth to the hole in the reed and then blowing, it's kind of a catharsis for him, like a release of his emotion, as well as him asserting his dominance and power as this beast or being that can really provide such a loud noise and kind of disrupt everything in the environment. The next stanza, it says sweet 5 times, which we believe is a contradiction to what Pan wanted. I think he wanted to make like kind of a scary noise that showed his enemies that he was powerful, and instead it made this beautiful kind of song through his flute. So I don't think that's what he intended, but this also spurs his change of heart and his maturity, which is seen in the last 2 lines as his rebirth and change, with the dragonfly coming back, the lilies revived, and the sun not dying.
Okay, so in this one it starts with the great god Pan at the beginning and river again. And but this time his laugh is a different laugh than it was in the previous stanza, because this time he's laughing out of like he can't believe what he just did, like a happier laugh because he's been changed. And so then in the next line the word man is juxtaposed with the word beast, because in the previous stanza it said like the heart of a man, but it was as if Pan wasn't a man, but now a poet has been made out of a man. So it's saying that he was a man because he's grown emotionally. Like, I guess you could say he manned up and he became a man and no longer just this beast. And in the woman's eyes, who is now forever gone, he was not a beast because to her she was a beast. He's no longer spiteful because for the cost and the pain, like she will never be back, all the pain she caused him. Like when the gods got rid of her, they knew what they were doing because there's no more spite and there's no more pain because she is gone forever. And then it ends with river again. And so the thing about this poem is that there are 7 stanzas, and the number 7 represents that reality is hidden behind illusions. And so there's 7 stanzas that are kind of like the illusion that he was living under, that he just couldn't believe that she didn't love him back and he was so upset. And then there are 6 lines in each stanza, and that represents earthly matters and things that are naturally occurring. So the things that he is messing with and the things that he is doing, he is making them not naturally occurring. Like, he is messing with the naturally occurring river and he's messing things up, but in the end he realizes that like he can't change things and he's no longer the way he was. So the 6 lines can represent the earthly matters, while the 7 lines can represent the reality that he was hidden, the reality that he was hiding behind, and all the illusions that he was living under. So, yes. So now on to Soapstone. The subject is Pan's creation of his reed instrument. So that's his, like, Pan is known for this reed instrument that he plays. So that's his thing, and his creation of his instrument was from the woman Syrinx being turned into a reed and him trying to destroy all of them and in turn making a beautiful instrument. The occasion is that this is a mythological story and it's a world that is completely unfamiliar to humans. So it's kind of an occasion that we are unfamiliar with. The audience is those who can understand the meaning. While yes, it is a story for everyone, those who can truly understand the meaning is who it's intended for. And the meaning goes down to the next line, which is the purpose, which is to demonstrate the consequences of actions, especially when completed under emotional turmoil. So he, like, destroyed his love, and now he'll never be with her again. And because he did that, he destroyed the reed that was created while under emotional distress because she didn't love him back. So that's what the purpose is. The speaker is third person omniscient because they know everything that's going on, but they are not physically in the story. And the tone can be read either way, as passive and curious, where the author is just kind of telling the story and like wondering what will happen next. Or it could be read as contemptuous and cynical, where the author sees all the flaws in Pan and his upsetness and is kind of exposing him for it and telling the story with an attitude that is negatively focused towards Pan. That's the end.